Morski. All right, can we see by a show of hands of how many people think they drink too much caffeine? All right, yeah, me neither. Well, according to Dr. Nicole Olson from the University of New Hampshire, 77.3% of college students drink caffeine every day. Now, it's natural to feel tired because our brains produce adenosine, which is a tiring hormone, and that amount increases from the time we wake up from the time we go to sleep. However, caffeine disrupts this process by canceling out the adenosine receptors and pushing them outside of your brain. So, the caffeine latches onto the receptors and allows you to feel alert and awake. However, caffeine consumption at our age can actually lead to many health problems. First, I'll tell you what those health problems are and how it affects us directly at this age. Caffeine is a natural stimulant which can be found in coffee, energy drinks, tea, soda, and even milk or dark chocolate. The Associate Professor of the Department of Nutrition at Harvard University, Dr. Robert Van Dam, stated that caffeine can be metabolized differently depending on the individual. For example, a cigarette smoker will metabolize caffeine about 5 times faster than a non-smoker. The most common side effects of caffeine include headaches, indigestion, loss of appetite, and in some cases, nausea. Dr. Stephen E. Meredith at the Johns Hopkins University of Medicine in 2015 stated that caffeine consumption over time can lead to insomnia, anxiety, irritability, and indigestion. First, caffeine is very acidic. It burns through your digestive tract and can act as a diuretic. It can boost your metabolism, but the acid throws off the pH balance in your system and can burn through your intestinal lining. With the loss of appetite at play as well, this can cause your intestines to become irritated, resulting in the nausea and indigestion. Second, as mentioned before, caffeine disrupts brain activity by stopping the production of adenosine, causing you to be alert. This causes anxiety and headaches because your central nervous system and your brain are incredibly overworked. This also explains why you get headaches when you're suffering from caffeine withdrawal, because your brain and your central nervous system have gotten used to the caffeine supply and now have to make up for that energy. Caffeine can also be a moderate painkiller because it increases your adrenaline levels, therefore numbing your senses. Lastly, besides anxiety, college students are most at risk for high blood pressure when it comes to caffeine consumption. Dr. George Krusig in 2014 stated that an overdose of caffeine may cause rapid or irregular heartbeat and or breathing problems. I actually went through this myself my junior year of high school because I started working a lot and I wasn't sleeping a lot, therefore I drank excessive amounts of caffeine to make up for it. One day I was walking to the grocery store and I saw a puppy adoption center that had opened right next to it. Obviously I love dogs, I was excited to see it, and then the next thing I know, I woke up on the ground and a stranger was asking me if I was okay. When I went to my doctor, he told me that because I consumed so much caffeine, my heart was overworked and my body just gave out on me. Now, going back to how caffeine affects us as college students, the FDA stated in 2007 that an individual that consumes caffeine before consuming alcohol will not feel the same effects of alcohol and can result in memory loss. To conclude, caffeine does boost your metabolism, raises your adrenaline levels, and can keep you awake during desperate times. However, with increased risk of anxiety, indigestion, and circulatory problems, I think we should all cut caffeine and increase our Z's. Thank you.
All right, well, there are a couple of things that I think are problematic at the beginning, and that makes it difficult later on in the speech. But there are several things in the speech that are pretty solid, too. The proposition, I I heard you say something, and I thought it was probably your claim, but it's not very clearly identified as your claim, that caffeine has some health problems or creates some health problems. So I was pretty sure that that was your propositional statement, but it's not really identified as such. And there's no preview of what the supporting structure is going to be. You kind of rush through a whole series of potential issues, but none of them are separate supporting points. They are just like an inventory of potential problems that are coming up. There's not an individual point developed for each of them. I think that I started hearing some numbers, and the first one I heard about a number on for the supporting structure was about caffeine acidity, and there's an argument here that in essence says that it can burn through your intestines, and I didn't hear any information on that particular point, and like I said, it felt a little bit like it was dropped in amongst other data without being given its own point here, and that's a little problematic because if it's not developed, then it becomes an assertion, and without proof, it's going to get lost in the other data that you have. Excuse me. The thing that you did have pretty consistently was a citation of testimony by authorities about potential drawbacks of caffeine and some things that describe how the caffeine process works. And I thought you did a good job on that. We had Dr. Van Dam. I assume that he's not the star of television and movies, but somebody else. And we also had Dr. Meredith that you're presenting. And then there's another researcher that you cite. All of that information seems to be pretty reasonable, but it's also kind of generic in the harms that are being talked about. I think there's probably not a lot of dispute that excessive caffeine use is problematic. The question is what students are consuming excessive. We don't have any data that tells us what the average student consumes, how much sleep they're lacking, what particular problems are quantifiable at any of those levels. Since the beginning of the speech seemed to identify that you're arguing that this is particular for people in this age group, I think that you need some data like that to support your position. I think that you do a very good job speaking to the audience. That helps quite a bit, but you do sound like you're rushing a little bit at the beginning of the speech, and although you moderated yourself during the presentation and slowed down a bit, one of the consequences is that the speech is done pretty quickly, and there's lots of opportunities that are left on the table for you to have structured your argument more and provided some additional information. All right, thank you.